lot of this is insulating husk. That's why we got to this island, is because these things float, not just from part of the negative cavity inside the nut itself.
In 2014, deep in the wilds of Patagonia, something happened on dual survival that the cameras never captured. Cody Lundin's co-host pulled him aside and showed him horrifying photos, then whispered a threat that would keep Cody awake for years. When he tried to tell the network, they shut him down. Ratings mattered more than safety, and the moment Cody refused to stay silent, they destroyed his reputation on national TV. What really happened on that set, and why did Discovery fight so hard to hide the truth? Roots of a survivalist. Cody Lundin entered the world at exactly 8:15 in the morning on March 15, 1967, in Prescott, Arizona. But his life never followed an ordinary path. His father was a member of the United States Air Force, which meant the Lundins were always on the move. Before Cody even understood the meaning of the word home, he had already lived in several different towns and different countries. Those first 12 years shaped him in ways that classrooms never could. Each new base brought new faces, unfamiliar terrain, and the quiet reminder that comfort can disappear overnight. Cody learned early that settling down was a myth. Home was not a roof. It was something he learned to carry inside himself. When he was 3 years old, the family moved to West Germany, where icy winds and long winters replaced the Arizona desert he was born into. Thick snow and silent forests became his world. Soldiers trained near their housing units, and Cody stood transfixed, studying their discipline and resourcefulness. Toys were rare during military moves, so he turned to sticks, mud, rocks, anything the earth offered. He learned how snow numbs fingers and how wind cuts through clothes. He discovered how nature challenges anyone who enters unprepared. By the time he returned to the United States at 5 years old, he carried a tough independence unusual for a child his age. In Arizona and Wyoming, survival lessons continued without teachers or textbooks. Many of the bases were isolated from towns, so Cody spent hours exploring wild landscapes. He built tiny shelters from branches and rocks, learning one mistake at a time. If a roof collapsed, he rebuilt it. If the cold crept in, he found new ways to block the wind. Every simple experiment fed a deeper hunger inside him. Even without knowing the word for it yet, he was already practicing survival. Around age 10, the weight of a military family's sacrifices began to push harder. His father's high-stress deployments meant long stretches of absence, and Cody learned to face loneliness head-on. Wandering the edges of bases, he began studying edible plants, berries, and even insects. He was discovering that survival was not only physical. Foraging gave him control over something in a world where he controlled almost nothing. That feeling became a lifeline. At 12 years old, his father retired, and for the first time, the Lundins stayed in one place. They settled in Laramie, Wyoming, where the cold was harsher and the land wider. But stillness never meant belonging for Cody. He wanted freedom, feeling the ground itself beneath him. Shoes vanished from his life. Bare feet connected him to every surface, every danger, every sensation. People stared, questioned, laughed, but he kept walking. The earth toughened his soles and sharpened his awareness. By the end of the 1980s, he had committed fully to the barefoot lifestyle that would later make him famous. 13 brought rebellion, but also clarity. Cody spent hours out in the forests building underground forts. Hidden shelters became a sanctuary from the tension at home, especially as his father wrestled with the invisible wounds of military life. Those small holes in the earth meant peace, safety, and power over his own environment. They were reminders that nature could provide comfort when people could not. Hoping to refine his skills, he joined the school's outdoor club in 1982. But that hope dissolved during a camping trip gone wrong. Temperatures plummeted, and the adults ignored the obvious signs of hypothermia. Students panicked, while leaders hesitated. It was a turning point. Cody realized that when survival was at stake, trusting others could get you killed. He quit the club and taught himself fire making instead. Armed with steel, wool, and flint, He practiced until his sparks roared into flame. By 1983, the wilderness became a second home. He skipped class to hike deep into the Medicine Bow National Forest, disappearing for hours. On one trip, he got lost for 48 hours. No map, no compass, only instinct. He survived on pine nuts and stream water, facing cold nights and fear pressed close against his ribs. When he walked back into town, something about him had changed. People saw the shift. He had gone into the wild as a boy and returned as someone who would never again doubt his own will to survive. During senior year, 1984 into 1985, he expanded his knowledge by forming secret survival circles. Hidden in the woods, he and his closest friends learned how to snare small game and track animals quietly. These gatherings were a quiet rebellion against a world obsessed with comfort and convenience. School officials suspended him after he refused to wear shoes during winter physical education. But he didn't care. The forest was his real classroom. The dirt beneath his feet was his teacher. And the group of outsiders who learned beside him became proof that he could lead even when he stood far from society's rules. When he graduated in 1985, his grades were average, but his direction was extraordinary. He turned down scholarships that promised stability and security. Those paths felt like cages. Instead, he stuck out his thumb and hitchhiked across Wyoming. He studied 20 edible plants by tasting them himself. He slept in ditches under an endless sky. Fear rode with him, but so did freedom. He was building a life that matched the heartbeat inside him. At 18, he moved to Denver with nothing but a duffel bag and a guitar. Survival now came with concrete instead of pine trees. He slept in alley brush piles and behind dumpsters. Sometimes he worked odd jobs where knives were the only payment. Tools he put to use carving and crafting what he needed. Nights were freezing. Hunger was constant. City life taught him that wilderness is not required for a survival crisis. Danger exists anywhere you cannot afford to fail. Those experiences almost broke him, but they also completed his foundation. Cody Lundin wasn't trying to be a survivalist yet. He was just trying to live. But every barefoot step, every wrong turn, every cold night, and every quiet victory carved him into the man the world would one day watch on television and trust with life itself. Becoming the teacher of the wild. By early 1986, Cody Lundin was once again on the move, drifting like a seed, searching for soil. At 19, he found himself living near the Mexican border, in a radical commune that believed in equality, shared work, and collective life. It sounded ideal for someone who valued nature, but the reality did not match his instinct. The rules felt too soft. The lifestyle felt dependent. So Cody did what he always did when the world tried to box him in. He stepped out. He built his own debris hut from palm fronds and dry brush, just far enough away to breathe freely. The hut was simple but sturdy, a tiny fortress against cold desert wind. By living apart, he proved to himself that community was optional. Self-reliance was essential. Months later, Cody returned to Prescott, Arizona, but not to comfort. He bounced between backyards, sleeping under trees or makeshift tarps while saving money from small construction jobs. With his first bit of freedom, he purchased a bow drill fire starting kit. Every night became a quiet battle between wood and will. He carved spindles until his palms burned. He bent his back over a friction board until sweat poured down his face. And eventually, flame. Fire by friction became more than a skill. It was a small victory over discomfort, a reminder that persistence creates warmth. He also slipped into ecology classes at the community college. Not for grades, not for credentials, but because knowledge mattered to him more than a diploma ever could. He took notes in the back, barefoot and quiet, absorbing lessons about ecosystems, plants, and the interconnectedness of all things. Survival wasn't only about lighting fires, it was about understanding life itself. In 1987, with courage built from hardship, Cody enrolled officially at Prescott College. He was 20 years old and determined to shape his education his own way. College buildings felt like cages, so he lived outside campus in a brush shelter he personally designed. While other students decorated dorms, he collected mesquite pods, acorns, roots, and edible greens. He cooked over open flames, rain or shine. Even while earning a degree in depth psychology, he continued studying his real master, nature. Wild living sharpened his intuition. His academic study of psychology explained the emotional roots of survival: fear, hope, confidence, panic. He realized survival wasn't about strength, it was about mindset. His future philosophy was forming quietly with each barefoot step through dirt and pine needles. Then came 1989, the turning point. At 22, Cody set off alone into Sedona's Red Rock Wilderness for a 72-hour solo fasting quest. No food, no water, just sun, rock, silence, and hunger pressing into his mountains. The lines between physical and spiritual blurred. He hallucinated visions he later described as ancestral guides whispering the old ways. When he emerged 3 days later, his eyes held a new clarity. He believed nature had shown him his purpose, to teach others what he had learned alone. Only 2 years later, January 1991, at 23, he acted on that calling. With just $10 to his name, he founded the Aboriginal Living Skills School in Prescott. No fancy equipment, no investors, just skill and faith. His first classes happened in public parks. Free, small, and real. He taught people how to make fire with sticks, how to stay calm when the cold creeps in, and how resourcefulness beats panic every time. Only 12 students attended that first year, but they left changed. They felt something rare, a teacher who didn't perform survival. He lived it. By summer, Cody offered his first paid course, Survival Shelter Building in the Arizona Desert. 25 students spent nights in shelters they built with their own hands using yucca leaves, saguaro ribs, and nature's design. Lying awake in structures they crafted taught them more than any book ever could. People talked, word spread. Cody didn't market the school, students did it for him. Everything grew from honesty. While other survival schools tried to mimic military toughness, Cody taught barefoot with patience. He showed that survival didn't require expensive gear. It required adapting to the earth beneath your feet. Later that year, a local rancher asked Cody for help improving emergency readiness for workers. Cody agreed instantly, no charge. Impressed by the skill and generosity, the rancher gave him a small patch of desert land. That gift became the first true home of ALSS. There, students learned to turn cattail roots into flour, identify edible plants, build rain-proof shelters, and listen to the land. Then December brought crisis. A sudden flood hit Prescott, leaving families without access to clean water. Cody didn't hesitate. He held emergency workshops teaching 30 people how to purify water using only plastic tarps, sunlight, and patience. At a time when panic spread quickly, he gave people power, knowledge they could use to protect their families. The community noticed. The barefoot survivalist was no longer just an unusual man in the desert. He was becoming someone people could depend on when life turned dangerous. Even with momentum building, money was scarce. By late 1991, he had only $200 to his name. A secure corporate security job was offered to him, a way out of struggle. But choosing security would mean walking away from the life he was carving with his own hands. Cody didn't hesitate. He refused and doubled down on his mission. Soon after, Yavapai College invited him to help create a 4-credit outdoor survival skills course. Cody blended primitive techniques with psychological resilience. Students learned how the brain reacts to danger, how fear shapes decisions, and how staying calm can be the most powerful survival tool of all. The class attracted people far beyond Prescott, hungry to learn from a man who refused to soften reality. The rise of a true survival legend. In 1992, at age 25, Cody Lundin was ready to take everything he had learned from a lifetime of hardship and put it into something bigger. That year, he launched his first winter survival course in the Bradshaw Mountains. 40 students signed up. Cody designed a simulated blizzard challenge that forced everyone to build snow caves with a precise 45-degree dome angle. He knew that shape trapped rising body heat and prevented snow collapse. Students slept in those caves through freezing nights with no modern insulation. When the course ended, not a single person was injured or frostbitten. The lesson spread quickly. ALSS wasn't teaching TV survival, it was teaching the real thing. The next year, 1993, he shifted the school into a new phase. For advanced classes, he set a strict rule: no modern tools allowed. Students carved their fire kits from freshly cut juniper and learned to make flames within 90 seconds. Many cursed under their breath. Some cried in frustration. But when fire finally sparked to life in their hands, something like ancient pride rose inside them. Scouts, hunters, and wilderness lovers started seeking out ALSS because they wanted more than tips. They wanted transformation. Cody delivered that transformation. By 1994, government agencies took notice. The U.S. Forest Service asked him to advise on rescue strategies for lost hikers. Cody taught them a survival method most never considered, using the reflective surface of a broken CD as a signal mirror. In tests, sunlight bounced up to 10 miles. This became a core safety technique, and ALSS began teaching it to more than 150 students each year. Real hikers later used it to survive real emergencies. Through the mid-1990s, edible plant courses began to draw huge crowds, sometimes up to 200 people at once. Cody guided groups through cactus fields and canyon paths, helping them identify 50 wild food sources. One of the most memorable lessons involved prickly pear pads. He showed how to burn away spines over coals and slice the green flesh underneath to eat like indigenous tribes once did. For many students, it wasn't just about food. It was a connection to history, culture, and land. By 1996, he was 29 and teaching sustainability. As an adjunct instructor at Prescott College, 20 students enrolled in his first class, where he showed them how to build rainwater catchment systems using 55-gallon drums, rocks, and gravel filters. He taught them how to live without depending on convenience or infrastructure. People began seeing survival not as an emergency practice, but as a lifestyle. Then came a major milestone. In 2001, at age 34, he co-wrote 98.6 Degrees, The Art of Keeping Your Ass Alive, with Russ Miller. When it was released in 2003, the world responded fast. 50,000 copies sold in the first year alone. The book revealed simple techniques to protect the body's core temperature using items like trash bags, aluminum foil, and plastic wrap, things anyone could access. The writing blended humor with field-tested truth, making the lessons unforgettable. PBS featured the book in interviews that reached more than 1 million people. Suddenly, Cody wasn't just a local instructor. He was a national survival expert. Everything he preached came from experience. His brush shelter life, years without electricity or comfort, had forged a belief. Survival begins in the mind. He incorporated breathing techniques used by indigenous cultures to slow panic and clear fear. Students later reported using these teachings not only in the wilderness, but during real crises at home. 2 years later, in 2005, he added a new scientific approach to ALSS. He created a hypothermia simulation where students submerged in 20-degree water while wearing wet wool clothing. Their reactions were monitored as they learned firsthand how fast heat leaves the body and how wool helps retain warmth even when soaked. 300 people went through this training. They left understanding hypothermia not as a word in a book, but as a threat they had conquered. In 2007, he returned stronger than ever with his second survival book. When All Hell Breaks Loose, a nearly 400-page manual, sold out its first 10,000 copies in less than 3 weeks. It went on to sell more than 100,000 copies and even hit the New York Times bestseller list. The world had changed. Hurricanes, blackouts, and national disasters were creating fear. Families wanted real guidance, not theories. Cody became the honest voice people trusted. FEMA soon noticed. he was asked to consult with more than 500 emergency agencies. He wrote the foreword for the Citizen Survivor's Handbook and contributed techniques that blended practical preparation with mental resilience. One recommendation, journaling during crises, helped people calm the mind and think clearly under stress. Cody's influence became part of a nationwide preparedness movement. Then in 2008, at age 41, National Geographic called. They wanted authenticity for a new survival project. Cody spent 6 days in the Arizona desert showing off tracking skills. Barefoot, he followed cougar tracks for 1.5 miles, carrying only sandals and a machete. His calm precision impressed experts everywhere. Les Stroud, Survivor Man himself, called Cody one of the top survival instructors alive. His reputation was now global. In early 2010, Discovery Channel filmed a pilot for a new reality series, Dual Survival. Cody was 43. During the test shoot, he built friction fires in under 2 minutes while nighttime temperatures sank near 40 degrees. The footage was raw, real, and powerful. Discovery signed the show. Cody was paired with Dave Canterbury. From the start, tension simmered. Cody demanded truth. Dave preferred staged shortcuts. While filming in Wisconsin's boglands, Dave struggled to identify real edible plants, so producers tried hiding props. Cody refused. He pulled wild cattails from mud and fed the crew for real. Editors scrambled, but viewers noticed the difference. Cody lived survival. Dave performed it. By 2011, the show reached 2 million viewers per episode. Despite the growing fame, Cody kept speaking out about staged scenes. The dehydration days filmed right next to catered meals. The lost moments manipulated by producers. Still, Cody ensured the survival teachings stayed real. He filtered 10 gallons of water a day using sand, charcoal, and socks. He built fire with what nature gave him, not hidden tools. Discovery executives later admitted Cody's parts were the only fully authentic survival sections in entire episodes. Then came the truth bomb. Dave Canterbury was fired in 2011 after lying about military sniper credentials. Cody had questioned those claims from day one. When Dave left, Cody's solo skills finally got the spotlight. Filming in Alaska, he built snowshoes from willow branches and crossed a 5-mile snowdrift while temperatures plunged to -20. With every step, he proved what he had been saying since childhood. Survival is earned, not faked. By then, the barefoot kid who once lived in brush shelters had become one of the most respected survival teachers in the world. His path wasn't easy, but every struggle built him, and every lesson he passed forward helped others face life with strength instead of fear. The fight behind the cameras. Cody Lundin and Joe Teddy stepped into the Hawaiian jungle in early 2013, and the danger didn't come from the wilderness. It came from the clash between them. Joe, 46 at the time, moved like the world was a battlefield, and everyone else was collateral. When he started swinging a spear around during a demonstration, Cody asked him to slow down. Joe didn't. The spear sliced the air too close, and Cody later admitted he truly thought he might get impaled. Crew members stared in silence, unsure whether to cut the cameras or keep filming the chaos. Producers didn't step in. They liked the hostility. Ratings loved conflict. Cody, calm and barefoot, stood across from Joe, all aggression and military posture. It was oil and fire, one spark away from something tragic. Later that year, Norway turned that spark into a flame. Temperatures dropped into the kind of cold that steals breath, yet producers pushed for a 40-foot ice climb without safety ropes. Cody refused the stunt. Hypothermia wasn't a joke, especially when your clothes are soaked with melting snow. Joe rolled his eyes and called him dramatic. Editing twisted the moment. Cody looked scared. Joe looked heroic. Behind the scenes, Cody filed complaint after complaint. None fixed anything. That episode was the moment Cody realized the show cared more about looking tough than staying alive. Then Patagonia brought the fear to a new level. Joe pulled Cody aside and showed him pictures of people he said he had killed during his CIA work, then leaned in and said, "You know what happens to snitches. That wasn't scripted. That wasn't entertainment." Cody suddenly saw the wilderness as the safest part of the job. Every break in filming made him tense, watching his back, wondering if the threats were jokes or warnings. Sometimes the pressure made him snap. In one moment, he threw matches onto the ground out of pure frustration over a staged and unsafe plan. Editors cut it into something else, a picture of a man unraveling. Cody tried to make the crew listen, documenting more than 15 reports about axes swung too close to his bare feet and stunts set up to fail. Instead of hearing him, they reshaped his image into the difficult guy. The public didn't see a man shouting for safety. They saw a man losing control. Early 2014 in Montana became the breaking point. Producers expected Cody to swim barefoot across a river sitting at 35 degrees. He knew exactly how fast cold like that could shut down a body. So he refused. He walked away. And that decision quietly sealed his fate. He was fired shortly after, with a PR story claiming he chose to leave to focus on his school. Cody immediately called that a lie. To him, the truth was simple. He was fired because he wouldn't risk his life for fake drama. Fans finally saw the episode that painted him as unstable, titled "Journey's End to a New Beginning." It crushed him. His reputation took the hit producers wanted. Enrollment at his survival school dropped 40%. People questioned him. In their eyes, the barefoot survivalist they trusted didn't look so trustworthy anymore. Cody tried speaking out, explaining how the show manipulated images and feelings, but the damage had already burned through his career. In May 2016, he had enough. Cody sued Discovery for $10 million. His lawsuit listed the exact moments that haunted him. Joe pointing an ice axe inches from his face in Norway and saying, "I'll bury you here." Joe showing pictures of his alleged kills. Joe whispering warnings about snitches. He also revealed that most of the so-called survival scenes, nearly 80%, were staged, planted animals, rehearsed emergencies, crews feasting after filming fake starvation. Fans who believed the show was real survival felt betrayed. By 2017, more truths leaked out. Luxurious meals fed to cast between takes, wildlife positioned for dramatic hunts, plays dressed as survival reality. But in 2018, a judge ruled that the edited portrayal of Cody was still substantially true, and the case was dismissed. Cody walked away defeated, feeling like truth itself had lost to television fiction. After the lawsuit, he admitted he struggled with PTSD, threats, real or staged, "Don't leave easily." Joe's words replayed in the dark. Therapy helped him claw back the parts of himself the show tried to damage. Slowly, people noticed the real Cody again. And then 2019 arrived. A new storm for the world, but a rebirth for him. As the pandemic began, survival became personal for millions. Cody turned his Aboriginal Living Skills School into an online lifeline. Hundreds of students learned mask making, water purification, improvised sanitation, and rapid shelter building. By late 2020, he was earning as much online as he did during his biggest TV years. His real-world knowledge finally received the respect television stole. In 2021, the BBC visited his off-grid home in Arizona. They filmed him living exactly as he taught, grinding corn by hand, collecting rainwater, using passive solar design instead of electricity. A rare legal permit allowed him to collect roadkill. He even held a license to catch fish bare-handed, the only one in Arizona. Nothing about his life needed staging. February 2024 brought a new platform. Cody launched the survival show on YouTube. Raw, funny, fearless. He exposed how reality TV fabricates danger. Viewers loved it. 100,000 subscribers came fast. By March 2025, he was deep into Season 2. teaching not only survival skills, but how to protect yourself from misinformation that could cost lives. That same month, his school hit a milestone. 800 students started a bow drill fire under 60 seconds. Cody didn't just survive Hollywood's worst, he outlived it. Today, at 58, he still lives barefoot on the land he trusts, working on a new book about mental survival, the kind built after trauma. He teaches at the Ecosa Institute, blending ancient techniques with modern sustainability. His life remains simple, honest, and real. Everything dual survival pretended to show but never did. Cody didn't lose himself. He just walked away from the noise and kept the fire burning for those who still seek truth. Cody Lundin didn't choose fame, he chose the truth. From TV betrayal to rebuilding his legacy with his own hands, he proved survival isn't about drama, it's about integrity. What do you think really happened behind the scenes? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.